Canada is the second largest country in the world just after Russia. However, having a population of just 38 million makes Canada one of the least populated country, with a population density of only 4 people per kilometer square. To say this in a comparative sense, let's talk about China. China has a slightly smaller territory as compared to Canada, but it is home to over 1.4 billion people, roughly 20% of the world population. The southern fellow of Canada is home to 9 times more people but has almost the same land mass. What is more striking about Canada is that, more than 50% of Canadians live below this line where Toronto and Montreal are located. As you can see below this line, there is a very small portion of Canadian land. Although Canada is located north of the United States, most Canadians live south of their American counterparts living in Maine and Washington state. So the question arises, why did so many Canadians choose to live so close to the US border? Why did people not move further north, inhabiting the deserted vast snowlands? And, will the Canadian government change this population concentration in certain areas? According to the late William Lewis Morton, an eminent Canadian historian, it's basically about agriculture. The best arable land has always been in Canada's south, no surprise, given the cold weather farther north. A lot of that arable land is in the area we see below the red line. Even outside of the red line, Canada's population is mostly very close to the US. 90% of Canadians live within 100 miles of the US border. The Europeans came to Canada, entering through the St. Lawrence River. It was the best way to explore the North American territory. This is part of the reason why most of the big Canadian cities located on the best of this river, starting with Quebec City, Montreal, and ending in Toronto. The first city to develop was Montreal because it was possible for boats to reach there. It became the main port city, and for centuries it was considered the main financial and industrial capital of Canada. However, in the late 1970s, Toronto became the financial capital of the country. The rise of cities like Toronto, Montreal, Detroit, and Chicago was interlinked. These cities had access to large river or canals which made them transportation hubs, suitable for an industrial base. Most cities of that time needed to be connected to sea, either directly or through a river. The reason was that transportation through ships and boats was the only effective method for traveling and shipping goods. Keep in mind that this was a time when automobiles' use was not common. Hence the big Canadian cities of the time were settled in the southern portion. As the world progressed, automobiles' usage increased. Now the cities could develop further inland due to the transportation advantage offered by rolling machines. However, the question remains, why didn't cities develop far from the US border? Basically, despite being the second largest country of the world, Canada's is deprived of habitable land. More than 50% of the territory is covered in what's called the Canadian Shield. This is rocky area which, the best area to live in Canada has always been in the south. Green arable lands make the south better of living as compared to the north. Agriculture is possible in the south due to the Great Lakes of Canada. This region of Great Lakes has the highest amount of freshwater in a single area in the world. This makes this area very good agriculture. No doubt, Canada is one of the largest exporters of wheat and corn. Due to the arable land and European settlements along the river, population concentrated in the south. Hence, by the time Canada industrialized, it made sense to develop an industrial, financial, and government base in the region where people were already living. Also, it made sense to develop cities along the large southern neighbor. USA is the largest economy in the world and most of Canada's trade is carried out with the USA. Toronto and Montreal are linked to major US cities through railway which has bolstered economic ties. Even the economic growth pattern of Canada has been very similar to that of the United States. As shown in this graph which measure the GDP per capita of United States and Canada over the years, the growth pattern has been similar. Canada is one of the most developed countries in the world with very high living standards, and some of its cities are ranked as the best to live. So now you know why Canadian population is concentrated in a small portion of its vast territory. Demography is a big issue for this country. Their population is aging rapidly, which has forced the Canadian government to establish a very progressive and one-of-its-kind immigration plan that attracts almost 400,000 people every year. The newer immigrants also plan to live in the Canadian South, however the government has an ambition of populating its north as well. This plan of the Canadian government runs side by side with the immigration plan. Canada plans to increase its population up to almost 100 million people. This will require the country to construct new developments and move north. Canada's has a wealth of precious natural resources that can be of economic potential. Arctic is also believed to be the future of global shipping routes. Canadian government wants to take advantage of the geopolitical and economic benefits that can be achieved through populating the north. However, for the time being, most Canadians will continue to reside in the warmer and more habitable land close to the southern giant. Please share your opinion regarding Canadian population concentration in the comment section. Do you think that Canada will eventually be able to populate its vast north anytime soon or in the future? I want every viewer to answer this question in the comments. Do leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to stay updated and share our videos. Thanks for watching.